Hey, this is Tim King from the band Soil and Embryonic Autopsy, and you're watching CMS TV. Turn that shit up.
It's the album that changed everything, Metallica's Black Album. In Cause and Effect, Metallica, author CHRIS Akin takes you back to the lead-up, the release, and the shockwaves that followed. Relive the moment that divided fans, reshaped heavy metal, and turned commercial radio on its ear. With insider stories and personal memories from rock critic and radio personality CHRIS Akin, this book is a backstage pass to one of rock's most iconic moments. Get your copy now at chrisakin.net or on Amazon. Don't miss out on this epic journey through heavy metal history.
Why don't we do this, Eric? Why don't we play this little trailer video that we have here?
Okay.
And bring on Mr. Pete Evick to talk candles and to talk rock and party gras and everything else that's going on in his life. So
awesome.
Let me end.
Hey everybody, it's Pete Evick from Shining Soul Candle Company and the guitar player for the Bret Michaels Band and the Ultimate Acoustic Rock Show with Chad Stewart and Dean Kramer. And today I'm talking to you guys about something super cool I think I've done with my good buddy Erik Ferentinos. Erik is the guitar player for Stephen Pearcy's Rat. He's been with Stephen for 20 years, like I've been with Bret for 20 years. Maybe he's been there even a little bit longer. But we've been buddies for a long time, kind of doing the same thing, you know, the hired gun guitar player for superstar rock legends. And but we both do other things. You guys know I do Shining Soul Candle Company, and Erik does the podcast with CHRIS Akin, and he also does Sea Glass Hunters show that is right now exclusive to his Facebook page, but it's about to go YouTube next year. And so if you know, Erik's really into hunting the sea glass and the shells and the different things. So we came up with this collaboration. So if you see right there, I'm blocking my own face, but it's a Shining Soul candle with Erik's own hand-packed sea glass and shells in it, and it's got a Erik Ferentinos guitar pick in it too. And for a while, we're going to be selling these at shiningsoul.com for $35. And you know, it's cool. Pick one up. It has the Shining Soul seaside scent, which is very oceanic type of scent, very earthy, you know, beachy type of scent. And Erik's awesome glass and shells. And so shiningsoul.com, and you can type in Erik Ferentinos, and you can pick one up, and we'll ship it right out to you guys. Hope you enjoy it.
All right, and joining us right now is Pete Evick. Pete, how are you, man?
What's up, guys?
Brother Pete?
Pete, let me give you some advice right off the top. You can't wear the same gear as the promo because I was pushing the wrong buttons on the screen.
You know what's funny is while I was watching the promo, I was like, I should have just stayed. I literally left my shop, which is 15 minutes from my house, to come here to do this. I should have just done it with the same background and everything. So, how are you guys doing today?
Good,
We're doing awesome, man. I'm so excited about this candle that you came up with, the first prototype.
We came up with. It's your, you know, we came up with.
Well, the only thing I could do was find the stuff, which it is tough to find it. But during sea glass season, I do pretty well. I usually find about 5 pieces every time I go out. Typically, it has to be low tide for me to even go, which is only a couple times a month where low tide's like early enough I could beat all the crowds out there and find it.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
There is a season to sea glass. Like
yeah.
You will find that I become intrigued and fascinated with anything once I'm into it, and so now I need to know these kind of things.
Right. Yeah, there's a season here in Oceanside because in the summer they dredge the harbor and they put a bunch of sand on the beach so everyone can enjoy our beach for the summer, because by the time the fall comes and the winter, the sand gets eroded away and it's just a bunch of rocks and it's not really fun to like walk out there, and you really don't see anybody on the beach for a good 3 or 4 months.
Right.
And it's finally quiet. You don't hear fireworks going off every night and people screaming and all that stuff.
It's my favorite time.
It's our quiet time. Well, I realize now I have to really get the Sea Glass Hunters episode shot during that time, because right now shells are the only thing that I'm able to get. Luckily, we figured out for the size of this, these baby clam shells worked really well, and I can find an abundance of those. So now I'm gonna like head out, just get as many of these as I can. I'm sending Pete more pics probably tomorrow, and these are going to be available.
By the way, I have several orders already. So
nice.
Yeah, send those out. Chris, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. It's good to see you, man. It's
so.
Go ahead.
I thought I was going to pop on for a minute, but while I was listening to you guys, I got to get involved on the AI thing.
Okay, sure.
Now,
please.
My buddy Darren Blevins said to tell you hello. Do you know Darren, or is he? I
know Darren.
Yeah. So Darren for a long time has been my partner at Shining Soul, but me and Darren went to my very first concert ever. Was me and him, his mother took us to see Twisted Sister in 1985 or whatever. So it's funny that you know him, but he said to hit you up about the AI episode.
Sure.
And then I get on to sit in the backstage, as they call it here, and I hear you guys talking about the AI thing. You wrote a song with? Forgive me for not knowing.
Play some of it, Chris.
We wrote tons of songs for like the thing about it, and I'll give you I'll tell everybody, you and everybody else. The link is Suno SUNO.com. It's a very generic. It creates the music, but what's scary about it is you just give it 4 or 5 bullet points. You tell it, well, I'll play you a piece of one. Erik had me make an outro for our show.
You wrote the lyrics to something?
Well, that was one that we did.
There's only 150 characters that you can on this dumbed down version of this technology that we have, because this is only Suno's like $10 a month, and it'll spit out 500 songs you can play with, and it's kind of like Mad Libs. In the sense that you can just, throw at words, right? So Chris's nemesis, Sugar Smack, showed up on our last episode and made Chris try to solve a riddle, which he failed, and he had to eat some bacon
dried
and cheese
grasshoppers.
Crickets. Yeah, bacon and cheese flavored crickets. So we
go kind of do a Fear Factor thing that I don't know about.
Oh
yeah, he always has to eat something gross if he doesn't get the riddles right. And Sugar Smack shows up every so often on the CHRIS Akin Presents. But we put something about that in there. I called my condo here on the beach Mansion West. So I said, hey, put in Erik's at the Beach Mansion West. Chris said he was in hell. I had said Chris eats bacon and cheese crickets.
Yeah.
And we talked about my new guitar, the Splon SS1.
Yeah.
Right.
And we threw that in. That was pretty much about it. Now, Chris, playing.
Yeah, I'll just play. Erik had me make an outro of one of the songs for the show. So I'll just play that real quick. It's only about 45 seconds, but it took 15 seconds and it did all this. It did the music, it did the lyrics, it did the voice, it did everything in 15 seconds with
two versions, like an alternate version with the same lyrics.
Version.
Yeah, it's crazy. But here's what it sounds like.
Running wild, Beach Mansion West, living like a child. CHRIS ate those crickets, babies in hell. Dreams of bacon and cheese, now we fell. Erik's gone, SF1 screams loud. Guitarists echo through the crowd. CHRIS trapped in flames, crying out why. Hell's fires burn until he dies.
So that's just a little taste, but that came from 15 seconds.
Right.
Whose voice is that?
AI's.
it's a robot voice. It's no specific voice, which I referenced that it does sound like a lot of the modern new metal stuff that you don't know what singer's singing it. You know what I mean? It's kind of generic.
Yeah, but it sounded, I hate to say this, it sounded great.
It sounded amazing, right? And I didn't know if you're aware, but a lot of record companies are signing deals for their artists that they own for their voices,
their catalog. Well, yeah. Well, that's a lot of the bands are selling their catalogs. I'm sure your boss is probably looking at that deal if he hasn't done it already, Pete. As far as selling his catalog.
Why did Motley Crue's AI song not come out that good?
Because they probably use Suno instead of something good.
I'm a conspiratorial kind of guy. And I'm going, wow, because I can't vibe with like the modern music for the most part, in pop and stuff like that. Just something about it I don't get, but that's how this music is. This thing can do any type of modern music or country or jazz or anything that you tell it to. You just say what kind of style you want it to do, but it's this kind of style that I just don't like. It's very Pro Tools. It's not very organic sounding, and my ears just don't like it. But this thing has no problem spitting it out. Makes me think that that's where it's coming from. That's where a lot of this modern stuff that you hear that the kids buy, whether it's rap or anything, that this AI is making it. And that would explain why it all kind of sounds the same.
Clearly it's going to be that way. I mean, what were you saying about the catalog? About, you said
well, right. A lot of the bands are selling their catalogs right now, obviously. And when they sell their catalog, these guys aren't, this Black Rock or whoever, they're not buying these things so that they own the catalog. They're buying this stuff so that they can use this kind of technology. They can, we'll call it image print, the various musicians, so they can grab Freddie Mercury's voice and Brian May's guitar and
is that really how Roger this is going to go down? Is that
they're going to make new stuff, new songs, probably not albums, because it seems like albums are going away, but you will get new, and there is evidence of that already. That last Beatles song that came out like 2 years ago or something,
right? They
openly admitted they used AI to fill in the gaps where they had not good tape. And
it's a hard thing for me because I am a techno geek and I love technology.
Sure.
But even more than a musician, I'm a producer. I don't know if you and me have ever talked, any of us have ever talked about this. I love making records. I love producing records. I love mixing records. And that job's over.
See, I think that's going to be the job. I disagree. I think that's going to be the job that stays. I think the performing jobs are going to be over because you're still going to need somebody.
Whatever I just heard was better mixed than anything Mutt Lange ever did. Like that thing was. Right. I forget whether you like the song or not. It was mixed perfectly.
Yeah. How long would it take you, Pete, to make a song with that production and write it and make it? It could take weeks, right? I mean, a couple weeks to probably come up with that, write it, record it.
Yeah, if it was already written, I would still need, if someone handed me those tracks and just to mix, it would probably take me 3 days to mix it.
Yeah.
To be that. And that just came out in 15 seconds, right?
Yeah. Two versions. You want to do one? I can pull one
up. Let's do it for fun. Let Pete pick some stuff to talk about.
We'll write
you can talk about
Party
Gras. You could talk about playing for Bret Michaels.
Or we can talk about your candles or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, the candles, the sea glass candles. Let's do it right now live because people love this.
I'm going to be blown away probably.
You will. And if you want it to be a certain style of music, let us know. We can tell it to do it.
Can you tell it to sound like Van Halen?
You can't use band names, but you can say classic hard rock or something. But again, this is the cheapest of the cheap. This is not the good stuff. We'll let you do it. We'll do it right on the air here. Hold on, Suno. All right. So what do you want? You want classic hard rock?
Yes.
All right, classic hard rock style. And then give me 3 or 4 bullet points up to 175 characters.
Like, give me an example.
How about Shining Soul Candles?
Right. We should say Pete in there so that it has a person to talk about.
Oh, is this the lyrics? Is this what?
Yeah, this is going to turn. It's going to write a song for you.
Just give it points. It'll write its own lyrics.
It's kind of like Mad Libs, but if you put in stuff that, if you wanted to promote everything or have it be pretty accurate to your life.
Pete creates Shining Soul. I'm gonna spell it. Soul Candles.
SOL.
I know, but for them to say it right, I don't want them to say Sol.
Oh,
I want them to say
right.
Soul.
Oh,
So
interesting.
Pete creates Shining Soul Candles.
Chris hunts sea glass.
No,
Eric.
Right.
Sorry. Eric
Hunts
sea glass.
Sea Glass. They create limited edition candles.
We're gonna have a jingle for our product.
You will.
You'll freak out because
will.
you would think this is going to suck already, right? But look
How much do the
we're doing it.
candles cost? How much do the candles cost? They're
$35.
They cost only $35, and they smell
Like the ocean.
Smell like a beautiful ocean. Make it something nice. Beautiful ocean. All right, that's good because we're at like 177, so we have like 20 left. So now I'm going to hit create.
Just like that?
Yep.
Just like that. And you can see it at the bottom. It's spinning. It's creating.
It could kick it out if it doesn't like something you did. It could make you do it
this is
over.
all
But
friendly.
Are you guys going to tell me why on the right of my screen there's a bunch of titles that look like ripping up Eddie Trunk?
Oh, well, that's CMS stuff, but
the fans of the CMS show are obsessed with Eddie Trunk.
Eddie, yeah.
Not really our fans from the CHRIS Akin show. We're kind of separate from all
I
that.
got it.
well, here we go. Here's version 1 of Shining Soul Candles.
Shining
That
Soul.
fast.
That fast.
Pete makes those shining soul candles, hands raw with wax, grit, and sweat. Erik down at the shore of sea glass, crafting dreams they never forget. Candles burning, memories in flames, $35 for ocean scent. Limited editions, flickering shadows, dreams of soul money spent. Smell the ocean in a smoky room. The sea lights bright candles in blue. Burning in light in the darkest night. Shining souls make it all feel right. Smell the ocean in a smoky room. Sea lights bright candles in blue. Burning light in the darkest night. Shining souls make it all feel right.
And on it goes.
It needs to be banned immediately, right, Pete? We have
What's
to ban
that?
this. We have to ban it and kill it and destroy it. It's like Skynet.
It's like Skynet. It's fascinating, and I want it to die.
Yeah, I had a theory that past singers that died are trapped in the machine and they have to create this, but they don't work on a parallel of time and space, so they could take the time to write it, and then they just give it to us because they already know what we're going to ask for in advance because I don't know, it's a sci-fi script.
Would you like to hear the alternative version?
Yeah, and it has a secondary version here already.
Yeah, it's a whole nother. I mean, the lyrics are the same, but the music's completely different and probably a different singer. But all right, here we go. So here's the alternative version.
So shining soul candles, hands raw with wax, grit, and sweat. Erik down at the shore on sea glass, crafting dreams they never forget. Candles burning, memories in flames, $35 for ocean scent. Limited editions, flickering shadows, dreams are sold, money spent. Smell the ocean in a smoky room, sea glass, bright candles in bloom. Burning light in the darkest night, shining souls make it all feel right.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. What that tells me is that Erik start hunting that glass more, and I have to start one more candle.
That's right. We're branching out. We have to.
Yeah.
I mean, the saturation has definitely taken down the value of music. There was enough out there when people with home studios and Logic and GarageBand could make music and put it out there. You were competing with that. Now you're competing with the damn robots, and it's game over.
And it doesn't take anything to make. I mean, you see, we're literally just fucking around in a minute, and we wrote 2 songs.
Right. The one thing I'll say, and I think I imagine Erik agrees, and maybe Chris agrees, is it's sterile.
Right. It's very sterile. I agree.
But you know where that's going to come into play to me is soundtracks and TV. No,
sure, exactly.
You know, right now, licensing is what keeps a lot of people alive in our industry, and that's going to take a big dent. Put a big dent in that. I think when you know Spielberg or J.J. Abrams or somebody just goes, "Oh, I know what song I want," and he doesn't have to hunt through or license.
That's right. Yeah. And you can monetize this from what Chris tells me, which I thought, well, maybe anything that this thing comes up with, you're not allowed to make money off it because you didn't create it technically. But he's saying you can.
You can load it to YouTube or whatever. In fact, it comes with in addition to creating the songs, it comes with a lyric video download that you can download and put on your YouTube or whatever. So
I might use it for the Sea Glass Hunters theme. I haven't come up with a theme yet.
Yeah,
but
I mean, even think about this. If you guys both work with guys that write songs, let's just say Steven or Bret hits a slump where they just can't come up with a good song or something that feels right to them. They could mess with this for an hour, come up with 10 or 15 different songs, grab a melody from it, put in their own words. Yeah.
You could use it for inspiration.
Absolutely.
I get that. It still doesn't feel right.
Yeah, it's cheating, right?
It is cheating.
If I remember correctly, me and Erik are about the same age.
Yeah, I'm 51.
Doing this for a long, long time, and to be here doing it and to think that a robot might take it away doesn't feel good.
No. I was freaked out after that episode where I was like just shocked how not the guitar solo sounded really bad. Like it couldn't do that. But what it did with the melody lines and actually coming up with something that was catchy and made sense with those words and took it to a further level where there was no mistakes there. Like it got it right that I'm on the beach, you know, and that it got the company.
There was a couple lyrics in there that I thought were great. I forget what it was. The hands worn from wax or something like that. I was like,
right. Talking about you working hard at the candle factory.
Hands raw with wax, grit, and sweat.
Yeah. I would have never written that. It's great.
It's very descriptive.
Well, I didn't plan on having that conversation today.
Oh, that's okay.
That's blowing my mind.
People are fascinated by this stuff because it's just it's so new, and I just don't think people realize how close we are to really killing off the industry that we all love.
Yeah, right.
You know, I mean, this is kind of sterile. I think we all agree that this is fairly sterile. Right. But this is a baby product. What is this going to be in 5 years?
5 years, exactly. You know what I mean?
In 5 years, you'll literally be able to tell it, I want a guitar that sounds like Eddie Van Halen. I want a Bruce Dickinson voice. I want a, Neil Peart drums.
Right.
And I want a neoclassical metal with a death metal drop or whatever. And you'll be able to come up with any combination you want and throw it together.
It seems like the Wild West. It's the Wild West right now. But I think that once you are using maybe Steven Tyler's voice or something mixed with this, there'll be people getting paid on it. That's not you at that point. Once you're using one of these.
And it won't be the bands either because they're all selling their catalogs.
Trademark.
It'll be interesting. When you talk about it like that, because like when I was a kid, I don't know if you ever did this, Erik, but your friends would talk about what would your super group be. Well, you're gonna be able to find that out. You're gonna be like,
I always joked and said, well, the super group would have to be me if they could make copies of me, like 5 of me to play each other instruments. And I would joke about it, but now I could definitely, sing and put in, Freddie Mercury's voice, whatever, have the guitar tone of Slash. The drums of AC/DC, whatever I wanted to do, it's right there. We already do it. Guitar players use a lot of the profiles that were made by famous artists. They're able to get Eddie Van Halen's tone used on Eruption if they want.
It's funny you say that. I don't. For some reason I don't know what you're playing live. What are you using live?
I recently switched to a Tone X, which is a box.
I know it's next.
Yeah. So we went up to Matt Thorne, our bassist. He has a great studio in Burbank, MT Studios, fantastic studio. We brought my Splon heads up there, and we made a profile, studio quality of my amp. And it worked out fantastically. So now I just have one cable that kind of goes from the Tone X into the return of whatever Marshall amps they have at the gig, and boom, I have the same tone every night. It does have like a couple of knobs that you could enhance the gain and treble and mid if you wanted, and bass.
It's funny. I've been looking at that Tone X. I don't know if you've watched on my Facebook. I had a little meltdown about 6 months ago and got rid of all that stuff and went all back to analog or whatever.
You had your mini pedals, correct?
Yeah, and I'm out there using that right now. But it's the same thing. I come out into whatever backline power amp I have, and I have my same exact sound every single night. But I keep looking at that Tone X, man, and thinking
I still use pedals. Okay, I still have. I'm a old school Boss pedal guy, so I still have like my delay. I have a noise suppressor. I have a chorus, and I have an EQ that I use as a boost. And those sit on the pedal board with the Tone X, and those are all pedals that would typically go into the effects loop anyway, like after the amp. So now the Tone X kind of acts as the amp, and I send everything into that return. It's so easy now. I'm just like, throw my pedal board down, choo-choo. Even if you don't have somebody to help me, I'm just out there for 1 second. I go, go.
Consistency every night.
Consistency. It's a huge deal.
Name of the game right now. It's like, absolutely.
You still have to buy amps, you know what I mean? Like, I bought the amp. I threw down for the amp. It's a great amp. I want to have the amp because eventually they're going to be able to just push a button and you can't have that thing anymore. It won't work. It's outdated. You have to update it. You're going to always be paying on it. But if you own the amp, you'll always have it, no matter what happens. So
my favorite amps, I do own my amps and keep them in my home. And I'm like Slash. My favorite amp is the Marshall Jubilee,
right?
The silver face, and I have one right behind that wall that is in museum quality condition.
Nice.
Wow.
I don't even let anyone look at it.
Well, that Tone X pedal, if you went into a buddy's, or if you could do it at your studio as well, it has a program that it runs, and you just plug into the amp, and it has this like AI that plays a bunch of guitar riffs on it and totally scans the whole Jubilee, and it will recreate it and be able to you could take your Jubilee with you by leaving it at home and just having it in that Tone X.
Yeah, my son actually has the bigger Tone X, the first one.
Oh, he has it.
And I wouldn't like the Marshall Jubilees that you can download or whatever, though, they're so good. I wouldn't even take the time. I would just grab one of those.
There's good stuff and bad stuff on there. Some people don't know what they're doing with that and put their models, but anything that MT Studios is good. I can tell you that. Matt put all his studio amps that he has some vintage great stuff that he put up on there. My amps up there, if you look up Splon on that site, you could have my tone that I use at these Piercy shows is there. Oh,
that's awesome. I might steal that shit.
Nice.
Yep.
Pete, since you mentioned your son, talk about your son. Looks like he's kicking ass out there, man.
I'm proud of him, man. It's we were just in the studio last night working on the next new song, and it's a much heavier song than the other two so far, and I'm always afraid of he's got a following now and people like what he's doing, and I keep telling him, we'll put this heavy song out, but you better write another kind of pop one too, if that's what you want to continue to be, so that we put them out at the same time and people don't think this is where you're going. Because as much as I'm a Skid Row fan, I remember when Skid Row took that turn heavy, a lot of people took, I know a lot of people love the Monkey Business record or whatever it is, Slave to the Grind.
Right.
But there was also a lot of people that didn't.
Right.
And the turn was so dynamic that I'm fearing I don't want my kid to come out with this heavy song. It sounds like Nickelback meets Metallica, and he's really proud of it. And it's kind of like Kickstart My Heart meets Nickelback. we'll see what happens when I get done producing it. Let's just say that.
Is it hard to not be overly critical of your kid? You know, he's your kid, but at the same time, you know this game. You know this game better than he's probably ever going to know it.
It's interesting you say that. The mother of the guitar player, my son's 22. The guitar player is 17. And so like a couple nights ago, a couple weeks ago, they opened up for Night Ranger. And it was a great gig. It was probably the best gig they'd ever played.
Sure.
And it was, but as soon as he came off the stage, I was like, you fucking did this wrong. You did this wrong. But that's what he wants from me. He wants,
Right.
like, if you go and look at some of the press and interviews he's been doing lately, he's like, my dad loves me. He's supportive of me. But the first thing, my kid does not want smoke blown up his ass. He wants to hear what was wrong before he hears what was right. And he's never satisfied. And I think that's good. You know what I mean? Sometimes he doesn't want to work as hard as I want him to work at things. It takes us a while to get things. Like for me, I was obsessed when I was his age. It was all day long, every day. I woke up and just whatever it took. He doesn't move quite as fast as that, but he works until it's right. We'll sing songs 150, 200 times in the studio. Wow. And he doesn't mind me pushing him. But I do that with Bret, and I do that with myself. Over the years now, me and Bret do it a little bit different. We have a 7-take theory. When me and Bret make records, he sings each song 7 times. And I keep all 7 takes. And then he walks away and just says, make it right.
Tighten it up. I'll be back later.
I'll be back later. But as far as Gavin goes, I'm super proud of him. And he's working really hard. He has vision, and I sent him out to the Whiskey. He played at the Whiskey. I've sent him all over the country now. He's been as the bottom line of he's been to the bottom of Key West. He's been up to Boston. He's been to the east coast of Maryland and all the way out to the Whiskey. I've sent him all across the country, starving in a van, and the old school way, and he likes it. He wants to do it that way.
Okay.
He
wants to do it. Still wants.
Yeah, he wants to do it, and. He saw me grow up like this. He grew up, he grew up with Bret. I think I told you once before, he was out with me a lot when I was out on that Poison tour that Rat was opening with
right.
one of those guys. And he, as a baby, Steven was nice to him all the time. You know what I mean? And
2007? Was it 2007?
I think it was 2007, but I'd have him on my shoulders on the side of the stage, and Steven during the show would come up and high five him and stuff like that. And so he grew up, Tom Kiefer has given him this incredible vocal advice. We had him study with Tony Harnell. Bret gives him business advice, and he has a plethora of he has so many people behind him that I actually make the joke that it turns. I'm a Star Wars fan. I think we guys have had this conversation before. Yeah. It turns out that I'm Darth Vader. He's the chosen one. He's Luke Skywalker. What I mean? But people are behind him, and as long as he keeps his head on straight and returns favors, and doesn't, if he just does the right thing, I believe in this business. You need people behind you, and he has that, and we just got to write good songs and consistent songs, and I think he has a chance. I don't want to sound what do you want to call it?
Negative?
No,
overly confident.
No, I don't want to sound vain.
Okay.
But he's a good-looking kid.
Mm-hmm.
He is. He's got the Vince Neil early day, Bret Michaels, David Lee Roth, Stephen Pearcy. He's got the swagger, and he's a good-looking kid. And I truly believe that in the last 20 years, what's missing from rock and roll is that front man.
Right.
There's great bands and there's great songs, but the best front man we've been handed in rock and roll is Josh Todd from Buck Cherry in a long time. And I like Josh. But he's not David Lee Roth. He's
right.
not. You know what I'm saying? And so the fact that my kid grew up next to Bret Michaels, next to Stephen Pearcy, next to Vince Neil, and watched this with his own eyes and was blessed with a good head of hair and a pretty good looking face from his mother is maybe he has what's missing. That's all. Maybe he has it.
Do you think he has to go to Europe to make it? Because it just doesn't seem like here. Seems like here nobody wants to deal with rock. I mean, the old heads do. Us old people do. But it really just seems like these new kids, they just want to hear, 2 Chainz or whatever.
Well, what's interesting is he did his first headlining show ever this weekend here in Leesburg, Virginia. I don't know if you've ever played the Tally Ho. Eric, have you guys ever played the Tally Ho Theater in Leesburg?
No, we have not. No.
But and he did almost 300 people in this rock club, and half of them were kids his age, but I don't know yet if they're just his friends supporting him.
I saw a picture of this crowd, and none of them looked like that old. Like the oldest people there looked like they were in their 30s or something, maybe.
Yeah. He had a good young crowd there, but again, it might just be his high school buddies that are excited about the thing, And but I'd send him to Europe. Whatever it takes. He's willing to do whatever it takes. And I don't know that there's a lot of that left in the world. You know what I mean? He wants to sing for Skid Row as he wants now. That's all on his mind because he loves that stuff and he can do it.
Is he in that mix?
Somebody I know has sent him audio to Sabo, and I've had personal conversations with the drummer.
Okay.
But he's not ready for it yet. He can hit every note. He can do it. As far as musically, he could do it.
Sure.
He doesn't have that experience.
He's so young, though. I mean, I didn't get the Piercy gig till I was almost 28. I was like 27,
right.
And it took a while to get my chops. Like I recently found some video that my mom had digitized that I hadn't even looked at for years.
I watched the one you posted.
Yeah.
I watched.
It's funny stuff, but you forget how far you've come, until you see something like that. And how long it took to kind of, I had kind of the moves down, but my guitar was out of tune half the time. And, my timing was a little off. But then after playing guitar for, 5-8 years, 8 years or 9 by the time I got, maybe even 10 by the time I got in Piercy's band. But then you're like ready after like a decade of doing it. And it worked out somehow, but it was so awesome to have a dad that not only allows you to do this stuff, but gives you all the tools that you need there. That's so cool of you to do for him.
Right. But I am hard on him. I'm brutal to him.
Right.
About it.
Simon Cowell
as you should
Simon
be.
Cowell for a dad.
Right.
Well, as you should be though, because you know what it takes to get there.
Right.
And as well as any of us know, there's nobody that gets there coasting. Nobody.
Right. That's right. And if you do, you don't stay very long.
No, exactly. Then you have your one hit and you're forgotten.
Yeah. Erik, again, you've been playing those songs as long as I have. Do you like all those Rat songs? There's some complicated chord changes and stuff. Is it just second nature to you now? Do you not even?
Well, some of them I thought I was doing right, and I found out that maybe I wasn't doing them exactly right. And Johnny Monaco is a huge fan since going back to the 80s, when he went to GIT, and he knows, especially Out of the Cellar, he knows this stuff. And there was a couple things, everything I was doing was always sounded fine, but it wasn't exactly perfect. I'm not really an imitator.
Right.
Cover guy. I mean, one of my main strengths is writing new material, original material. But he has shown me a few things I had to change up. I have to actually go up to this chord on Lay It Down. So that was cool to have him in the band, for that. But some of these songs we hadn't played, like doing the Out of the Cellar in its entirety, was a new thing. So that kind of kept it interesting. We're talking about potentially doing Invasion of Your Privacy next year. So those are a bunch of songs that we haven't done before, so that keeps it spicy, because I was getting tired of doing the same songs out every year. You have to have a gimmick, you have to change it up a little bit to keep the people coming back. So
it's funny what you say. Every time I speak to you, I just feel like I always feel like, and Chris, I don't mean to exclude you from
it's all good,
but I always feel like we were literally living the same life on different coasts, because just like you, I play like me.
Right.
I play like me. I play those Poison songs right. I play them right, but I play like me. And And Steven, did Steven ever have a problem with you, even though Johnny?
No, well, I remember early on when I saw some people panning me for not playing the stuff perfectly, and I came to him and I go, man, I don't think I could do this. And I don't play every note like Warren does. And this is years ago. This is like 20 years ago. And he goes, so what? He doesn't either. And then all of a sudden the pressure was off me in that sense that if you see Warren DeMartini live, he does alternate versions of his songs. He doesn't do every solo exactly like he did on the record that day in the studio. Right. He's enhanced it, changed it, added some more melodic stuff here and there. His live playing was always amazing. And I urge people to watch it on YouTube or whatever, see that he doesn't do it the exact same way. So I did it the best I could to be able to perform it every night consistently. I might have dumbed some stuff down or whatever, but now I'm like taking over the role of Robin Crosby, which is a little easier to do. And Johnny does the Warren stuff as moving forward from this point. But I think it's like filled some gaps that maybe if anybody was feeling like they missed that super shred factor, we have that now with him.
There's so much I want to say. First of all, I crack up because you said you would go online and see what some people were saying, right? You know, there's this guy on one of the message boards. I think it's the Metal Sledge message board. For 20 years, anyone mentions my name, and this motherfucker comes after me. He comes after me about how I play nothing but a good time. And
he rains on your good time, right, Pete?
Yeah, and it's all wrong, and it's terrible, and it just beat. This is my dog Bobo, by the way.
Hey, Bobo.
And he just beats me up, and all I keep thinking is, if it was that bad, Bret would have fired me. If it's wrong, you know what I mean. But I don't know if you've caught wind, but we added a rhythm guitar player to our band last year, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
His name's Dean, and Dean's a little Monaco. Right. And he's 10 times the guitar player I am technically. He is. But and he would say to me, you know, like in Ride the Wind in a couple songs, aren't you going to do that part, or aren't you going to do this part or whatever? And I'm like, no, I play like me, and that's what Bret wants. Bret actually wants them to sound different than the Poison versions. And so Bret's always been super supportive of that. And my guy, Dean, he can't understand that. It and when we were last year, we were doing, at the Party Girl, you know, we have guests come with us.
Sure. Right? Dee Snider.
Yeah, this year it's Dee and Lou Graham.
Lou Graham. How awesome is that?
Oh, yeah, I'll get to that in a second. Mm-hmm. But last year we had Steve Ajari from Journey. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget, we did the rehearsals without, Steve for a couple days, and Dean was like, aren't you going to play the solo to Separate Ways note for note? I said, I'm absolutely not playing that note for note. And he goes, well, don't you think Steve's going to be mad? And like, he was really asking me questions about this. And then we did the sound check the first day of tour, and Steve walked over. He's like, man, that's so soulful how you're playing that solo in Separate Ways. And you could just see Dean's head explode. He was like, you know, I don't understand. But so I have a Monaco in my band too, because I've like you and me have talked before. I know Johnny, and he's meticulous.
Right. No, he's phenomenal. I mean, some of his capabilities are way beyond. I mean, I can shred too, and I have on his albums. You can hear Piercy's albums. You can hear solos that I did that are of that would be Warren DeMartini-esque. But I think when I first joined the band, some of it was out of my reach, and I had to dumb it down a little. Also, there wasn't always a great, rhythm section to hold it down to go off and do all these things. So I don't know. It is what it is at this point, but it's somehow there's a magic there that's working, and so we're going with it.
Loves it. You know that the band's better than, like, Steven sounds better. The band is. You guys are on fire right now.
Yeah, I'm not fighting it. I'm having fun, and whatever tensions maybe there were, I think have been squashed at this point. I recently did have something where like one of his fans was going around saying these things or whatever. Yeah. It was like the only guy saying something bad, and we kind of figured it out. I think he did it on Chris Had to Ban Him, at one point for saying he kept saying the same thing, that I was out of tune. That was his thing he would say, and he'd do it with different names, but I kind of figured out it was the same person. And then finally at one point he didn't think I'd see it, but we had a mutual friend, and when she had posted a video of us playing somewhere, and he goes, "Wow, Eric's really out of tune there," or something like that, which wasn't true. I wasn't. But he was just busting balls.
Even if you were, that's technical. That doesn't. That's not.
He was saying the same goddamn thing. It would either be I'm out of tune or my intonations. It was always the same thing that let me know this is the same person.
Yeah.
And it's literally the only negative thing that's ever said about me for years. This is the only thing. And when I figured out who he was, I told Johnny, I go, "Listen, I'm gonna F this guy up on my show if you don't talk to him, because I know he has pictures of you. I know he's your fan and your buddy. I figured out who he is, and I'm gonna let everybody read his stuff, and it's gonna be bad for him." And and then the guy like totally called the truce, like he just basically broke down and apologized and said, "Truce, man, my life's falling apart. I hate everything, and I'm sorry. I'm a miserable fuck." So
you were talking about what Steven kind of calmed you about worrying about things.
Yes.
I had a very similar moment with Bret. We were in the studio working on a record a long time ago, and I'm an improv guy, and I'm a couple tape kind of guy with a solo. What keys it in, and I'll rip, and I'll do a couple takes, and I'm but in this one particular thing, I had this thing in my head that was very Van Halen like, and as much as I love Edward and he's my life and I live and die for him, I don't really play like him. Not because I can't, I just play like me. The first lesson I ever learned from Edward was play like yourself. That was all he was about, So anyway, I had this Van Halen thing in my head, and Bret came in the studio. He was like, "What is fucking taking you so long right now?" And I said, "I got this Van Halen thing in my head, and I want to do it." And he goes, "If I wanted to hire Ed, I would. I want you to play guitar on it." And in that instant, not one thing's bothered me since that day. Anyone can say anything to me if they want, and it doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't. I mean, Ace Frehley's not the greatest guitar player in the world, but he's one of them to me. You know what I mean? It's
for you, Pete, your performance, shines. You bring. Like we're like cheerleaders for these guys in a way, we're the hype men on stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Like and by the way, we're playing together, right? And
I'm so excited about it. Yes, I do know we're playing together.
Yeah, and that's here in my hometown. So
wow.
So that's gonna be Chris. You ought to fly out to it. Come party with us, man.
Where's it at?
Leesburg, Virginia.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I will.
Manassas, but they're connected. Like the county lines dissect 15 miles out.
Right. Were you born there? You grew up in this town?
Born and raised right here.
That's so awesome.
There's a city train that goes by that I've heard every single night of my life for 52 years. No matter where I've lived, I can hear this train from. So.
I'm by Camp Pendleton Base, so I hear Reveille every morning at like 7 a.m. from the Marine base.
I
also hear a train.
Right. Well, so I appreciate you letting me call in for a little bit, man. I didn't mean to. I feel like
it's all good. Before
it's so
you
awesome
jump off, though, real quick, I want to get to something that you said you were going to talk about, and then you dusted over. Talk about Lou Gramm.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man. Let me tell you. First of all, have you ever learned? Chris, do you play an instrument?
I can, but I'm horrible at it, so I don't purposely.
Drums. He plays drums.
I play drums, but I'm
Erik,
not good.
Have you ever learned a foreigner song?
I think I've dabbled. I stumbled upon one, and it was like, oh, I think that's a foreigner song. But I've loved it. I played air guitar as a kid, at Jukebox Hero and stuff like that.
I used to sing "Say You Will" in my cover band.
There you go. They're tricky songs.
Yeah,
right.
And that's coming from a guy that when I was 13 years old and 5150 came out, I did not leave my bedroom until I could play every single note of that. So I know how to play the guitar, but those foreigner songs are tricky. They're nothing like I play. They're nothing. And we'll go a week without playing with Lou, and then I have to relearn those things every time. They just don't stick in my head to play them to the quality that I want. And again, I still play like me, but just the structure, the arrangement, the different things. But he got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, as you know. And I don't want to take anything away from him. So this is really hard for me to make this make sense. But let's just say he was out gigging at a level that was fine. But once he got inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I think it kicked him into overdrive. And I think he knows he has to go live on TV to perform and all this stuff. So he's lost like 30 pounds. And every week, he's a legend and he sounds great. But every week he sounds better right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the last week at Soundcheck, we did Cold as Ice. And the hair on my arm stood up. And I literally had to stop the sound check. And I walked over to him. I said, Lou, you sound so fucking amazing. I can't even believe I'm standing here hearing your voice. It was like the record. You know?
Wow.
Yeah,
you know?
I've been hearing this from people.
Yeah. And it wasn't like that 6 months ago. It was great, but it wasn't what happened.
How many songs does he come out and do with you guys?
We just do 3.
So that's a good amount too for him, probably.
Yeah.
He could come out and give it his all for 3 songs.
Yeah, but it was so great last week. And I remember stopping him and saying, Lou, I just need to tell you. And then all of a sudden I went, what the fuck does Lou Graham care if I like I just stopped.
He probably cares.
He did. He actually on my Facebook, he posted himself, and it was him that posted. He goes, I do care. I want you to think it's good. And so he is you know what I found, and I don't know if you found the same, both of you guys. I found that the bigger the star, the nicer they are, not the opposite.
Right.
Some of the D levels are the douchebags, and the A levels are much kinder. I that's what happens to me.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, sometimes I don't know. I've gone both ways with it.
It's funny as I say that. There's 2 or 3 that come to my mind that level that
yeah, a lot of the big ones, at least with what I do, especially interviewing them a lot of the time.
Yeah.
The young ones are way more energetic and fun, where the old guard is really, they've
Not
got
much
their
soul
stock
left in them.
answers. You know what's they know what's coming. You know what's coming back from them. You know, it's very very stock, I guess. Which I get that. Even for both of you guys with Bret or with Steven. I mean, how many interviews have they done?
Right.
You know, there's no question they haven't answered at this point.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's funny. I actually, because I'm also kind of I'm in the company. I also do a lot of the publicity stuff. So I am the go-between or the mediator with the radio interviews and the press interviews and stuff like that. So when Bret does something, I call ahead of time. And to be honest with you, I have a list of questions I tell them not to ask.
Okay.
Right. Sure.
You know, I say, please don't, you know, and it's not like I'm being mean. I'm saying just after 40 years, ask him something other than about hairspray. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, but then there's people like Vince who just don't do interviews anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And does Steven do a bunch? I've seen him this year do more than I've ever seen him.
It's funny you mentioned that. Steven's lady sent me an article that he just did where he talks about just this, which the title of this article is Rat Stephen Piercy explains why he's not bothered by the term hair metal.
I just saw this. I didn't read it, but I saw that title.
So great segue, Pete, because this was brought up to be talked about. And I did peruse the article, and basically he says he's not bothered by it because I think he was around before it too.
Yeah.
When it was just heavy metal, you know what I mean, in 1981 when Rat was going. But he also made a note which resonated with me that that's not where the heavy metal powers are in the hair. It does help, as you saw when I had my 1992 long hair. It makes it easier to rock out when your hair can rock out with you. It's kind of hard when you don't have hair to look cool up there. It's easier when you do have hair. It is easier.
Cool to me.
Right. Oh, he found the article. Here we go. Great. But he does mention that there's great artists that don't have hair, and that it's that's not what it's all about anymore.
Right.
It's evolved anyway. But he made a note that he's been there from the start, so he didn't consider himself a hair band, but he accepts it because he had great hair. He had really cool hair. Look at that.
Yeah, and he cut it off at one point himself, so he did cut it off. Steven and Bret both right now look as good as they ever did. Like the visual is on top of their game, man. Like I think they look great. And
they do.
And last time I saw you guys, I couldn't believe how great it sounded. You know what I mean? So,
I love theater gigs like that.
Yeah.
It always sounds awesome, and it was so great to have you guys right on the side of the stage there.
Oh, you know what's funny? I didn't realize how drunk I'd gotten. Because I used to not do that in front of my kid.
Oh, yeah.
So, but for some reason, I know why. Because Chad from Faster Pussycat was there. That's why I got drunk. I forgot he was there.
It was Chad's fault.
It's always Chad's fault. And but my kid told me that I spent half the night almost out on your stage. And so I haven't had a chance to apologize to you.
No, don't. You weren't out on the stage. You guys were there, but it was like, it made me want to have more fun. And I felt like we had I like how we can be friends that want the best for each other. You know, like, hey man, we can all win at this. And that's what it feels like when you have buddies that are in bands like you, and they're there on the side of the stage supporting and watching. That's what it's all about. So I loved it. And this is the night that we figured out that we need to join forces for a rad collab.
That's right.
Which is for Sea Glass Hunters, a way to promote my show and get Pete to, because people were asking me, hey, you mentioned Pete was going to be on the show. When's that happening? Well, it's happening, folks. And I'm thrilled with how this candle came out. In fact, like, can you show the candle again to us one more time? Do you have it? It's at the shop. It's at the shop. That's okay. I gave Chris a picture of it, so Chris has it. And he'll probably pull it up at some point while I'm talking to you.
Did you text it to me or email?
I did text it to you earlier today.
A second.
The way that this came out, it looks like I want to put a spoon in it and eat it like cereal, which made me go, hey, if this really takes off, we might have to find somebody to do a limited run of cereal that's kind of like a Lucky Charms.
There you go. You know, it's funny. In the time I've been here, I just looked at my I keep track of my online sales on my phone. In the time I've been here, we've sold 6 of them.
Oh my God!
How many are there? I'm just curious. How many are there of the candles?
Just gonna keep making them.
Well, yeah, he only had 6 of my picks to start, because I just threw those in there because I'm like, hey, while I'm at it, I'm gonna throw him some picks. And then he has been doing a candle, a Pete Evick candle that has a pick in it. And so we kind of combined that theme, but then with the sea glass. But I just can't believe how cool it came out. Like,
there it is.
This looks amazing to me. I love the simplicity of it. Yeah, I love the connection that people know that I personally picked each one of those up off the sand.
That's what's important about it. That's what's cool. Yeah. So
and then Pete took it a step further, sticks one of the picks into it, and this is going to smell amazing. And you're going to be able to see it, smell it, hear the crackle of the candle.
There you go.
Yep,
you got it.
Well, Pete, you need to throw your pick in it as well. That would be the $40 candle instead of the $35 with both picks.
My picks don't have a picture on them. My picks are subpar compared to that.
Well, you did an amazing job. I'm going to tomorrow send out more stuff to you right away, because I know people are going to be excited about this when they see it. I'm going to start promoting it. The season finale of Sea Glass Hunters is coming up, and that's when I'm going to move everything to YouTube. The first season will go on to YouTube, and the second season will continue to be exclusively on my Facebook for a while. But that's where my fans are. I'm sure when they see this, they're going to want one of these. They always bug me, Erik, give me sea glass. When are you going to give me a piece of sea glass every time I come to their town for a concert?
Right. Now they get sea glass and they get something that smells good.
That's right.
Well, where do they get it at, Pete?
You can go to my website, shiningsoul.com.
It's SOL.
And then if you type Erik's name, that candle will come up.
Awesome. Very good. So that's shiningsol.com.
Yeah, but on
soul,
Facebook,
which means sun in Espanol.
Yeah, but on Facebook, I have the actual link that goes right to that candle. You don't have to search. Right. Yeah, and Erik has that link too.
He did send me the link, and I'm downloading his awesome PSA about it, Pete. You did such a good job on that today. He said, hey, man, I want to get it right. Let me get all your websites and stuff together. And he did such a good job. I was like, oh, my God, this is so professional and amazing. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I actually, like I said, I do the publicity stuff a lot for Bret. I enjoy, like, it sounds dumb. Most people dread it. I enjoy writing press releases and stuff.
No, AI didn't write this. You wrote it.
No, not yet. One day I might let AI do something.
Have you seen AI, Pete? Have you seen AI on like your Facebook when people leave a lot of comments? All of a sudden, it gives a synopsis of your comments.
I have to tell you, and I don't know how you guys feel about this. I hate it.
Yeah, it's weird. It's creepy, right?
people are talking. People are congratulating you on a good performance last night. They really liked your shorts that you were wearing, or all the things. It's like
Your shorts really rocked.
yeah, it's that irritates me. Why did you bring that up?
Well, it's just I'm seeing it all around. Plus, I'm running into more and more robots everywhere. I went to Winco grocery store. There was a robot cleaning the floor. We were at the Billings, Montana airport the other day, and they had a droid, and it even said R2 on it, bro. It said R2 on the side, and this thing was kind of awesome. And this got food for people. It brought them like their food orders and stuff. It would just have this music going when it came close, and you would see it. Johnny had some funny interactions with it that'll be on the Jason show. I have it on my subscriber page. I show that droid for a second. But yeah, I just see the takeover, AI, the robots. It's actually happening. Skynet is a real thing, dude. Did you know that actually have a Skynet?
Brother, we could go on. You know, I'm a conspiracy theorist to the end. I believe if you want to have this podcast, this can't be now, but I believe it's all coming, man. I believe we created our future. But
right.
The robot thing. Have you ever played the Belterra Casino in Illinois or Indiana?
I think I have. Yeah.
I think you guys have too. Last time we were there, the band and crew went out to eat in the casino restaurant, whatever. And I got served by a robot.
Oh, wow.
Just like you're talking about. And once again, it's funny. I feel like I don't party much anymore, but every story I have is me fucking drunk at all. But I was out of my mind drunk. It was somebody's birthday and we were partying. And I was having a hard time dealing with this robot was bringing us drinks and food, but it was bringing us drinks and food. And so I got up and I started screaming at it. You're no fucking R2-D2. Again, I'm a Star Wars fucking fanatic, right? I'm a Star Wars fanatic. You're no fucking R2-D2. I don't know who the fuck you think you are, but like I'm screaming at this fucking robot at the top of my head. It's the first time in my 20-year history with Bret that the next day I was advised by management that I needed to call and apologize.
Yeah, especially if it's like an Indian gaming deal. Yeah, like you got to apologize to the chief
for my behavior. And but I've seen it. I've seen the robot. There's in the Seattle airport. It's kind of a robot, but it's in a machine that makes and serves the coffee for you. Have you seen that?
That's Seattle Airport.
Yeah.
I'll look for that. I haven't had a layover there recently.
Yeah, it looks like one of those fortune teller, old boardwalk fortune teller.
I love those, by the way. Those fortune teller old ones. I love those.
You order your coffee, it makes the coffee and then spits it out for you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, some of it's cool. I mean, some of the jobs this thing's taken over are crappy jobs.
Yeah. There's a couple things I want to say right now, but it's not my business to say, but I want to fucking say it. And he's a good fucking friend of mine. I don't fuck. So Dee Snider moved his whole family to North Carolina.
Right.
Okay.
And he moved his family to North Carolina because the entire family wants to be in the arts, whether they want to be in a band or whatever. And his thought is AI has taken that industry over. It doesn't exist. And he just took his family away from that whole world. And he's got this compound. It's literally the biggest property in North Carolina. And he bought it and bought this. It's like a compound. If you see it from air, it's like he's going to build a city in this thing.
Right.
You know?
Wow.
But his move was because the jobs his children want while they're out in LA, he believes aren't going to exist. And he just wanted to remove them from that situation. You know what I mean? So it is taking over. I think
Piercy also wants to do like a compound thing. He's always talked about that. He was like, look down the road in case the crap ever hit the fan, we'd have some place. But that also in a positive way, we could all be in-house and do our own writing and studio and grow our own food and all that.
Before COVID, Bret did have a big ranch for 15 years out in Arizona that he sold during COVID. But we had the studio set up there. We had the multimedia thing, and he had it was a whole thing where the band would just live there when we were working, and it was a compound. We would call it the compound. In fact, when he had his brain hemorrhage, they flew a helicopter over it, and you could see all of us on his property. But I think that people like Dee and Erik or Dee and Steven and Bret, who've lived through so much, it's a very enticing idea to keep their things they love and the people they love
right
sheltered.
Protect everybody, give like family, and you take care of your family and keep them somewhere safe, and all look out for each other kind of idea, which I love about him. And that's cool that Dee's doing that. Family is everything. It's everything.
Yeah, but it's based on the fear of AI is what sparks. Sure. And so that goes back to the whole thing we started.
Most movies kind of start that way, right? Skynet, Terminator. Now, what's cool about what we do is hopefully some EMP or something like that does go off and just wipes out electricity completely and everything, because we could still rock. We just need acoustic guitars, right? Piano, some percussion, some bongos, a cajon.
Again, if you guys follow my Facebook, when I'm home, I do that. Me and my drummer at home, we go out with acoustic guitar and cajon, and I love it. I'll play for 4 hours at some local bar and play and sing all night long. But I think like we have generators and solar power, and I'm a big outdoorsy guy, and I like camping and all that stuff. But camping now has turned into prep and survival practice.
Yes. Right.
That's where I'm at with my brain with all of it now. It's like I have all these different things that when it goes, the one thing I don't collect is the food and the water that I should collect.
Yeah, but it's, I've had people always tell me that. And if I had listened to them, I'd be eating some terrible food because it would be all about to expire. Like none of it seems like it
never expires. It's like, it's like a 25-year before it expires, man. It doesn't.
So expire.
So they say, right?
You open it up and there's maggots in there 5 years later.
That's right. All right, guys. I'm not taking any more of your time. I'm grateful,
Brother Pete. All right.
Thank you.
All
right. Buy me and Erik's candle.
There you go. ShiningSoul.com.
ShiningSoul.com, people.
All right, Pete. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you so much.
All right, man. Take care. All right, and there goes Pete. That was fun.
That was so great.
That was a lot of
fun. I really do love these candles. I mean, the simplicity of it was brilliant. Because I was trying to figure out how he was going to do this and whatever, but it looks so cool, and I bet it smells great. And
well, you'll know soon enough. You're going to get one, right?
Maybe. Well, I'm going to be sending him more stuff. That's for sure. I have a lot of work to do because I think these are really going to take off.
Yeah, I mean it's a cool concept. It's a cool idea. So
yeah, they're actually gonna, once the candle burns out, they got the sea glass. They can collect sea glass.
Sure, absolutely. So so definitely buy a candle. Definitely go see Pete when he's out with Bret Michaels doing the party gras.
Yep.
And then in October you can go see him and Erik together. That should be a lot of fun. All right. I think we're gonna wrap because I really don't. At the beginning I wanted to talk about what's her name from YouTube dying, but this ain't the show for it.
No. I think this was a great show.
This is a positive show, not a negative.
Yeah, that was
show.
a mic drop when Pete left just now. Anyway, so
yeah, I think we're done there. So before we wrap it up though, obviously, Erik, you are Mr. Worker. Where are you gonna be?
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff to do. Arcada Theater coming up, and that is in St. Charles,
right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. St. Charles, Illinois.
St. Charles, Illinois. Yeah, I'll be flying into Chicago for that. Then that's Friday. On Saturday, we're going to be playing the Louisville, Kentucky State Fair, and that's going to be with Quiet Riot, which we just did the show last week, the Montana State Fair with them, and it was awesome. It was in an arena, Chris.
Nice.
How awesome is that? Like I
awesome.
freaking love playing arenas. It's just like you really feel like you made the big time when you're headlining an arena.
Right.
And Quiet Riot's opening for you is just insanity for me. But it's happening again at the Louisville, Kentucky Fair, and the lovely ladies of Vixen will be opening the show.
Is that gonna be your first time seeing the new singer?
No, we played a festival recently and they sounded amazing. Actually, it was really, really good.
That's cool.
We love Lorraine. Of course, we love Lorraine.
Of course. Yeah.
But Vixen will continue on. I can see where they're going with this. And, her obviously a younger, woman performing with them, but I mean, she sounds fantastic. I can't deny that.
The videos I've seen, she really sounds good. So,
and then on Sunday the 18th, Piney Flats, Tennessee, which is I think it's called the Piney Flats Distillery, if I'm not mistaken. But it's that's in Tennessee. And then I'll be flying home Monday and getting some rest for the CHRIS Akin Presents next week.
There we go.
And then the week after that, we got the Fright Bite, which there'll be no. That is our CHRIS Akins on week 4.
That week. Yeah. So I guess we better pick a movie at some point.
Yeah, we will be picking a movie by the end of this week for sure and announcing it.
Guess we need to do that. But I, of course, will be in all my normal haunts. I'll be with Seth tomorrow, Seth Williams Show. Classic Metal Show Saturday, 6 hours, which I'm sure we'll get a review of the Arcana Show from Neely.
Yep.
I'm positive of that. And then Monday, Seth Show again, and then right back here Tuesday. So busy. Erik and I always around. Make sure you buy all of our shit, please. We're running plenty of commercials for my books, Erik's picks, now candles.
Oh, we're gonna do that. Hopefully you save that AI song. The first one was pretty good that it did.
I have the AI song.
Yeah, from this Shining Soul Candle song.
I have those as well, but I actually did find the time. You had texted me earlier about ending with the Hellbound Beach, and I did find the time to make an outro. So we will end with a little Hellbound Beach. So there. So for CHRIS Akin Presents, I am CHRIS Akin.
And I'm Erik Ferentinos.
And we'll see you guys next week. See ya.
Erik with his mohawks fighting wild. Beach mentioned West living like a child. CHRIS ate those crickets babies in hell. Streams of bacon and cheese, now we fell. Erik's gone, SF1 screams loud. Guitarists echo through the crowd. CHRIS trapped in flames, crying out why. Hell's fires burn until he dies.
Attention metalheads! Want to rep the classic metal show everywhere you go? Head to the CMS store and grab some killer swag. Whether it's coffee cups, t-shirts, wall art, or even phone cases, we've got you covered with all things CMS, featuring our iconic logo and badass mascot Rex. Don't miss out. Visit cmsstore.cmspn.com today. Support the show, show off your style, and rock on with the classic metal.